welcome to the Dice Tower. This is the Origins Summer Preview with the Dice Tower, done at the Origins Game Fair 2013 in conjunction both with the Dice Tower and the Game and Manufacturers Association, GAMA. In this series of videos, we talk to different publishers and designers about games that have just come out or that are about to come out in the future. Here's today's video with your host, Eric Summer.
We're here at Origins 2013 with Alex from Mayfair Games once again with one of your upcoming near future titles. It's called Global Mogul. Tell us about it.
Indeed. So it is a global business game. So basically players are playing multinational companies looking to increase their capabilities and their wealth at the end of the day by investing in markets, by investing in companies and fulfilling contracts. So what we've got here are basically the components for the standard game, which is the full game that's in the box.
Okay.
There's a base game which takes a few of the elements out and simplifies them, and there's even a learning game beyond that which simplifies a few more elements beyond that. But really the full game takes advantage of all the different bits and pieces and the challenges that the game has to offer. At its core, what you're going to be doing each turn is doing actions that usually either involve investing in a market, claiming resources or companies, collecting resources, or getting the money you need to do something on your next turn.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward. You start with a very small company. You only have 3 actions that you can do on your turn, and actually start with a very, very small amount of money. So actions are designed to give you the capabilities that you need to, both grow your business and move forward with. The core of this game is the center of the board here where we have our markets. We have 2 areas. We have emerging markets. So you can see up there that we are waiting for China to really, we expect big things out of China someday. But so China's up there in our emerging markets area, and down here is our open markets area. Okay. So countries where people have already invested that are able to pull resources out to use for things. So on your turn, one of the actions that you can take is to invest in an emerging market. So these aren't markets that I'm going to get anything out of now, but what I can do is kind of get a jump on the competition and say, as these become emerging markets on the next turn, I can already say, well, I'm there and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do that. I can also invest directly into open markets and place things there. One of the keys is not only do countries give you resources and you pay a certain amount of money in order to get access to that resource in the country, based on the amount of influence you have in a country, they're going to be worth victory points at the end of the game. So in this case, I have 2 cubes there. I have the most cubes there. Therefore, I am currently the person who has the most influence and currently 4 victory points in Great Britain. Over here, green actually has the majority interest of cubes, so he controls Italy, but I have a secondary control, and that's going to be worth points as well. The larger the market, the more opportunities there are for players to go into it. What do I do with these resources that I'm going to be collecting a little later in the game? Well, I have contracts I can go after. I have both private and public contracts that I can go after. Government contracts are what we call these. Okay. And basically either there's a contract I can claim, it'll tell you what it is I need to fulfill, how much money I'll get for fulfilling it, and how many victory points it's worth at the end of the game. And the government contracts are also work the same way, except these are auctioned. So these I simply say I would like to take that one, and then we do a little once around to see who's going to get that. Okay.
And I see a deadline on
contracts have deadlines, so you've got to be able to fulfill that or you're going to be in breach of contract at the end of the game. Okay. One of the interesting things about the game is the limited amount of things you have to work with. So in this case, if I were to go after that software contract, I'm going to take one of my little cubes here, basically assign one of my employees to oversee that project. Okay. Actions that I have take up these cubes, contracts take up these cubes, influence in countries takes up these cubes, investing in venture capital takes up these cubes.
You're going to run out of cubes.
At some point you're going to run out of cubes, so either you're going to have to bring in more, which is one of the actions you can take, is to hire more workers, or late in the game you may be in a position where you're going to have to pull out of a country in order to invest or get the venture capital or to claim a contract in order to be able to have just enough people to do what you need to do. This is a finite resource that becomes very, very tight at the end of the game. addition to the contracts, we have companies that you can invest in as well, and these simply are going to give you victory points at the end of the game, and they're going to give you some advantage over the course of the game, make it easier to invest in a market or give you extra resources when you produce resources. Some also act as a free resource when you complete a contract. So this, for example, would give me a blue-collar worker. Anytime I complete a contract, I can use one less blue-collar worker with this company. And of course, these guys also take one of those ubiquitous little cubes, so that's the way it goes on. You can produce with your, so as an action you can produce resources, you look at what you've got on the board, and actually to make things a little easier, we have a player mat that you keep track of what you've got out there so you don't have to count up all the cubes and everything. I can just look down the line and say,
gold, you're going to get one technology resource, and so you don't have to count it up every single time.
So those then would come over here into my supply, and then I have those available to do contracts with. There's also some things you can bid for turn order on the following turn. Grants, you get a little bit of money and you then have more people to work with. Over here is the venture capital market. You're not going to be able to get a lot of money early in the game other than by going to venture capital. Venture capital, good enough. Fortunately, you don't have to pay it back necessarily over the course of the game. There's a bonus for the people that use the venture capital the least, but it's simply a matter of going in. So basically, if green has gone into the market, as venture capital, this is our state. If I need venture capital, I simply take one of my actions, I take one of my cubes over here, and that's $30 million I now have to play with moving forward. One of the interesting things is late in the game, this is another area where you can retrieve cubes. You always take the next highest one, but if, for example, we get up to 80, everybody can take 80 unlimited at the rest of the game. Okay. I can take an $80 venture capital action. At the same time, I can pay off venture capital from earlier in the game by paying 10 more than I got. So in this case, I could get 80, but immediately turn around and pay 30 plus 40, pay 70 to retrieve 2 cubes, back to my supply 10. To go out and do that, and still get $10 off that deal. So the end of the game is after 5 turns, 6 and a couple of the players. So it's a very short game. It's not, it's a very concentrated, get things done sort of game.
But it
Indeed, it does happen. And actions as well, you start with a base 3, but the first time you complete a regular contract, the first time you complete a government contract, and the first time you acquire a company, you're going to get more actions. So at any point in time, you can have as many as 6 actions to take on a turn. At the end of the game, you score points based on area, certainly countries that you control. Also, bonus for being highest in region and then highest in the most populated region on the board. You score points for having the most contracts completed, most government contracts, most different most different companies, for having the least venture capital. There's a variety of victory points conditions that trigger at the end. And at the end of the day, it's whoever has the most victory points, tiebreaker most money.
Wow. So this is a pre-production version. Are you still tweaking? Is the design close to finish?
Art's still working. They're still working on the art a little bit. So we're going to see some changes, I think, in the art over time. The rules themselves are pretty much locked down, and we're going to be playing this with people here at Origins over the course of the next couple of days and get some reactions. If we have to tweak, we'll tweak. But we're pretty comfortable that we're pretty happy with where the game sits right now.
So what's the time frame? What are you looking at?
Time frame will be late 2013 is what we're talking about right now. We're leaving that a little open at the moment, but it'll be sometime in 2013.
And so if people really want to follow the global mogul arc as it gets closer, where do they go?
They're certainly going to keep track of us on MayfairGames.com. You're going to watch our Twitter feed or our Facebook feed as we do this. We'll also be showing this, of course, at any of the conventions that we're at. So if you're around at Gen Con, we'll have this on a table during our get-togethers in the evening. You'll have a chance to play it there. And any other cons, we might sneak it into San Diego. We're going to Comic-Con.
Okay.
I imagine there's going to be a lot of very casual players going to be excited about this. Okay. But if someone comes up and we've got it at the show, we'll certainly be happy to pull it out for them. So.
Excellent. Thank you once again, Alex.
Our pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks so much for watching The Dice Tower and the Origins Summer Preview. We'll see you next time. I'm Tom Vassell, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.